Hello and welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
And I'm Noah.
And
We've been waiting to do this episode
for about 7 weeks.
for about 7 weeks. Hey, boy. You're going to make us start the same way we did the last one.
Did.
We're back in my apartment. Woohoo! We're actually recording this right after another video. So, new scenery. Yeah.
The same studio dog.
Yeah. He just wants all the attention for himself.
He does.
You know, he hates phone cameras. You'd think he would hate this.
I don't think he knows what that is.
He probably doesn't.
Okay.
All right.
This one's your gig, dude.
Moon Knight. Oh! Yeah, we're talking Moon Knight today. I have been excited for this series, which you should know by now is kind of odd for me at this point. I'm kind of burned out on the MCU as a whole. I'll completely admit. I started watching the MCU when I was 11. We went to Iron Man at the Legends Theater, and I spent 10 years of my life going to these movies, watching the TV shows, getting invested in the story, and then it all came to the climax with Infinity War and Endgame, and I was satisfied. I was completely satisfied with it. They wrapped it up. They put a nice bow tie on, or bow on top. I was good. And then, of course, they drew me back in by saying, oh, yeah, your favorite hero that we've been neglecting the entire time, Hawkeye, yeah, we're giving him his own miniseries. And it's debuting on your birthday. So, come on, Noah, come on back. But after Hawkeye, which I was completely fine with, I enjoyed it. At the time, I thought it was one of the better Disney Plus series that they had done so far. And, of course, I'm biased. They also announced Moon Knight. Now, Moon Knight is a character created in the 70s by Marvel Comics. Stan Lee had a part of it, and then one of the artists was the other co-creator. So, a little history for you. Moon Knight has had a reputation as being Marvel's Batman. Kind of. He's... in the comics, I'm going to get into this, he doesn't have a lot of... I don't think he has any notable superpowers. He has suits that get torn, they get tattered, they get battered. He usually fights hand-to-hand. He's got the little Moon Knight batarang things, and he's got a limited supply of them. He uses a bunch of gadgets. He's got a wealthy business side to him. But the things that made Moon Knight stand out, one, obviously, he wears white. The reason why? He wants people to see him coming. That's like a defining thing about him. People are like, why don't you wear black? It would make you stealthier. He's like, I'm not trying to hide from them. I want them to know I'm coming. Because then they're going to turn and run because they know what's coming. Yeah, it's kind of cool. That's the kind of reputation Moon Knight had. And of course, the memes made about him were hilarious. Like the comic panel. We'll put it up here. Come on, Dracula, you big nerd. Where's my money? People would meme and just rewrite comic panels. And it just felt like it fit. He had this... He was almost a cult classic in some ways. Not very many people knew a lot about him. But... they knew enough that he was an entertaining side hero. So when Moon Knight got announced, I saw a lot of hype for this show coming out. And I was really curious as to how they were going to do it. And I was actually excited for it. Not because I wanted to see the next stage in the MCU. Whatever. I'll watch and passively enjoy stuff if it's good or hate it if it's bad. But Moon Knight was one that I was actually looking forward to. More so than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. More so than WandaVision. What was the other one? Besides Hawkeye. Wasn't there a fifth?
Hawkeye, WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now Moon Knight. That's number 4. What was the first one?
Loki. More so than Loki. And I was very pleasantly surprised for this movie. Or this series. I enjoyed this probably way too much. I really enjoyed Moon Knight. So, spoiler for the rest of the video, I really liked Moon Knight. It was a good show. You should go watch it. Yeah. There's a little...
There's your intro.
My spiel.
Okay.
My long-winded spiel.
Spiel.
Go ahead.
Gotcha. Well, sitting here listening to the backstory of that, so I have to ask, and other people might be wondering too. In the Marvel TV series, he's getting his powers from an Egyptian god.
Yes.
Is that the same thing in the comic books?
So, yes and no. In the comics, and mind you, again, this is from everything that I've researched and watched, he wasn't given powers. He was given guidance, and he was, more importantly, resurrected. So in Moon Knight, the TV series, they actually showed this scene halfway through where he's climbing, where he's dragging himself, he's bloody after the gunfight into the temple, and then Khonshu appears to him, and he wraps him and heals him.
Right.
But in the comics, he died there, and then Khonshu was like, "Well, why am I gonna let this perfectly good body go to waste? Here, come back." And made him Moon Knight, and was like, "You will protect the travelers of the night. You will do," very much like the TV show, but he wasn't given anything really extraordinary in terms of powers. Khonshu just seems to act more like a guide, and there are times at which Moon Knight gets powers from Khonshu. There was a really cool event where Khonshu kind of went cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and stole the powers of the Iron Fist. He stole the Phoenix Force, which is an X-Men thing. He stole... Oh, it's okay. Someone...
You're good.
How dare they walk outside?
You're good. You're good.
He took control of Mjolnir, because Mjolnir's made of moon rock, and he used it to pummel Thor into the ground.
Really that's funny. Cool.
He just stuck out a hand, and he's like, "It's amazing you've been using this for millennia, and you still have no idea what it is. This is Uru. It's made from one of the first celestial bodies. Otherwise, Thor, it's made of moon rock," and throws it back at him. Oh.
Well, he's fine. He's fine.
So there are powers associated with Moon Knight, but it's not like a regular... From everything I can tell, it's not a regular occurring part of his character that he has superhuman powers, which is very different from the TV show.
So in the TV show, you meet a character who you find out has a split personality, and what the elements of Moon Knight. I think you were correct. You mentioned this the other day. This series is a character study in someone coming to terms with trauma from their past. Mm-hmm. And how it has triggered psychosis, and how he has developed a alternate personality to learn to deal with the trauma from his past, or at least hide from it. But what is really interesting is that the split in his mind is so complete that one doesn't know what the other is doing, and so you get this very interesting variation on what is a standard Marvel storytelling technique, where you in your first introduction you see how people come to grips with their powers. Carol Danvers, figuring out who she is. Tony Stark coming to grips with the fact that he's Iron Man. You get variations of
Captain America learning how to, be
Thor learning how to be a decent human being and not a jackass.
It's very
okay. Except that the twist on this is that you see this character trying to come to terms with what's going on inside his own head.
Yes.
And so the whole Moon Knight storyline, this guy getting his powers, it's not just one man trying to figure out the two different sides of his personality, but one side is aware of the powers, and one side is not. And so you have this third element. And so you watch this guy develop this while he's fighting this threat of a man named Hera, who's trying to resurrect an Egyptian goddess, Ammit. And the Egyptian god Khonshu is trying to prevent that from happening. And these gods and goddesses cannot function on their own
in the
moral world.
Right.
So they have avatars. They operate through people.
And I think that honestly ties back to Egyptian mythology. Like the priests and the priestesses were the ones that supposedly, in many mythologies. In Greek mythology, you had oracles and priestess that were in temples, and they claimed that the gods spoke through them. You had the same thing in Egyptian mythology. So I think that was just a cute little clever detail that's like, oh, why can't they interact? Well, in ancient Egyptian mythology, they could only interact with the mortals through the priests and priestesses.
Gotcha.
I think that's kind of cool.
Well, it made for some interesting storytelling, because you have a concept. What fascinated me the most about this, and you know where I'm going with this. Ammit is a goddess who wants to judge people and basically, see if their quote unquote scales are in balance.
Yeah.
And that is, are they not too evil?
Yeah.
And so if their scales are in balance, then they're allowed to live. But if their scales are out of balance, then they are instantly executed.
Yeah.
And it's not a violent execution. But it's instant.
Yeah,
people go from alive to dead.
Yeah.
They're out.
And they get Thanos.
But yeah, they do. It's like a snap.
Yeah,
it's very similar
to that.
It's very much
like the snap.
Except that their body is left behind.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
They don't turn to dust and disappear.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing is that their scales being out of balance might be based on something they haven't yet done. Mm-hmm. It's their propensity for evil and the fact that they probably will commit evil in the future. And so they are executed based on crimes they have not yet committed.
Yeah.
Khonshu is a ruthless judge and executioner, but he only kills people after they've committed a crime.
Yep.
And so the interesting question that this series proposes is this question of, is it acceptable to punish people based on a crime they have not yet committed?
Yeah.
Now,
I'm still like blown away by how it worked so well. It just like this plot element, anytime they introduce something like this, it has the potential to be just another background element that is completely wasted. But in Moon Knight, it's done really well, and there's a particular reason why I think it's done really well. But go ahead first, because you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just, going to take that thought just a little bit farther, because when you have good quality writing and you have an interesting topic and when you have an interesting question,
yes,
because that question of punishing someone for a crime they haven't committed is a far more interesting question than dressing up in white robes and beating the snot out of people, because actually the fight sequences were a little disappointing. The choreography,
up until the last one, because the last one was awesome.
Well,
the last one was really fun to watch.
I find asking and answering that question, because we know that in real life there is AI that is trying to be developed. People are trying to develop AI to predict future behavior, but then if you can develop that with a degree of accuracy, which is a frightening concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can you
hey bud,
can you imprison someone? Hey Goofy, come here
Jorah, come here.
Can you
you're not getting enough attention, is that right?
Come on. Can you take preemptive action?
Yeah.
Can you take away someone's civil rights or their freedom based on the possibility of them doing something in the future?
Mm-hmm.
Those are important questions to ask and answer as modern technology is advancing at a frightening pace.
Yep.
Right? Or do you do the standard? What we do is that you can't be held accountable until not only you've committed a crime, but you're found guilty of having committed that crime. And there's no presumption of innocence with Ammit.
Yeah.
There is.
No. She's like, no. You're going to commit this crime, and I'm going to make sure you don't.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so that's far more interesting to me. That and the psychological aspect of what's going on inside Mark's head,
Yeah.
and how is he coming to terms with this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's two halves of this story, much like there's two halves to Mark Spector / Stephen Grant.
Yes.
And it's fun because the one downside of this series to me, and it's pretty much my really only big complaint about the series, is that they don't explore that plot further. The plot is serviceable. The plot is fine. It's nothing spectacular.
Right.
But I always hold to the idea that you can have a mediocre plot as long as you have good characters to develop along the way. That the background story is can be carried by good characters. Because if the characters aren't entertaining, then it's just bad. It doesn't matter how good the story is. You see that with like the prequels of Star Wars, because the story, if you actually read into the political espionage and intrigue, while it's not done the best, it's kind of intriguing. It's kind of cool. But it's not like superbly written, and the characters, let's be real, also aren't superbly written.
You've never seen the two episodes on Star Wars we've filmed, because those are going to remain in the vault for a long time. We don't want to get him started on Star Wars. So
you've got this background plot.
To your point, Oscar Isaac's performance is it's incredible. That man is so talented,
so good,
and
so good.
Watching his performance is very definitely worth watching the series just
for
to
that
watch him
alone.
Yeah, he is really
good. He puts so much energy and so much character.
Oh yeah,
into two separate halves of the same character.
Right.
Like, he's playing two people who supposedly exist in the same body, and they're so different. Their mannerisms, his physical acting. You got Steven, who's a little more like hunched over. Mark's a little more upright. He's a little more stoic.
He's more confident.
You know, Steven's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. and he does it so well. And when he switches
on the spot. Between the two,
it's so good.
It's very well done.
So good. I think I don't want to say there's very few actors who could do that, but I feel like that's such a difficult thing to pull off as an actor, to be able to switch that quickly, that consistently, and still be playing two sides of the same person. I think
I have not seen a lot of his work, and I think the first and only other time I've seen him was Star Wars, wasn't it?
There was Star Wars, and then you saw him in Dune.
Oh, I did see him in Dune, but Dune was the third one that I've seen. Star Wars, he played Poe. I wasn't impressed.
No.
I mean, it really wasn't, but it's Star Wars. You could take any Oscar winner and put them in Star Wars, and they're going to suffer.
They did. They have.
Yeah.
We've had Natalie Portman, and we've had Ewan McGregor in there.
Is he an Oscar winner?
I don't think he's an Oscar winner, but Natalie Portman is.
Yes, she is.
Sure. Yeah, she's an Oscar winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for Star Wars.
Yeah. But yeah, the acting is superb. Layla was fun.
I liked
Layla because they've got a good, strong female character without making her better. Without having to push her into like a Rey level of absurdly overpowered. She's got her skills, she's got her talents, she proves her worth, and she proves her downsides. That's a balanced character.
I think the one thing that they might have whiffed on, and I don't know if they thought about doing this or if they just filmed it but didn't put it in for time. Here you have a woman who's married to Mark, who does not know that Mark has this split personality.
Yeah.
Her husband disappears on her for months. Mm-hmm. She can't find him anywhere. When she finally finds him, he's Stephen
and British
and she
claims he doesn't know her.
Exactly, and so she's looking at her husband. And she's saying, "What are you doing? Oh, this is how you're going to play this? You've got this whole thing of this woman trying to figure out what the heck is going on with her husband." And her reaction was a little too controlled. I think the average woman would have flipped her, would have lost her mind.
I feel like she should have been a little bit more angry about this whole circus act she thinks that he's putting on.
Right.
I think that might be the only thing that's a little unrealistic about it. But she's also married to an international mercenary who goes around and kills people. I think the point they were making is that she believes he's undercover.
Oh, gotcha.
So she's like, okay, you can stop method acting now. It's me.
Gotcha.
Trying to figure out why if he's really trying to get away from her that bad.
Ultimately, at the end of the movie, she becomes the avatar for Tarwit.
Yeah,
and
we get someone who I think is just Falcon in Egyptian clothing with 2 knives.
Well,
and the action was better than most of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Okay.
We have a better Falcon in an Egyptian costume than Falcon.
I hadn't thought of that. The Egyptian Falcon. I do love the scene in the final episode where she saves people from the van, and one girl looks at her and says, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And she's like, "Yes, I am." But I think she was completely wasted.
At the end, I think so. A little bit of it, yeah.
Spoiler alert. This is a spoiler. Yeah. This is going to be a spoiler.
Episode.
Stephen Mark has a third personality that is very, very deeply hidden into the point where Stephen and Mark don't realize this third personality exists.
And I called it!
Right. And he did. He called it in episode 3. And it's problematic in a couple of ways. One, Stephen is a pacifist, Mark is a mercenary, and their third personality is a cold-blooded, brutal killer, all wrapped up into one person. This series deals with these 2 personalities, Stephen and Mark, coming to terms with each other, and coming to terms with each other in the Egyptian afterworld, where their souls are being balanced, or their hearts in balance with each other. And apparently neither Stephen nor Mark nor any of the Egyptian gods or goddesses recognize that there's a third, with the exception of Khonshu, who knows?
Most definitely knows.
And takes advantage of it and manipulates it.
Oh, because Khonshu is a dick.
Khonshu, he is.
And I love him.
And he's fun.
But we'll get to that.
He's got a purpose, and he's got a goal, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care who he angers along the way, which is a central element to the story, because he goes up against pretty much all the other Egyptian gods and goddesses.
He
just doesn't care.
He's so fun.
He's a bit irreverent.
Yeah.
And he's not a rules follower.
Nope.
Right?
He doesn't care. I love the line. I didn't when the guy cuts his tie.
Oh yeah, I know.
I didn't actually expect that he would do that.
Yeah. Guy takes a header backwards, off of a cliff, and Khonshu says, "Oh,
well."
Didn't think he was going to do that." So, but anyways, Layla, becomes this avatar. She gets these golden feathers that are bulletproof. I mean, it's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then she gets pinned to the bottom of
gets trapped against the car by one of his moon things.
And then she spends the rest of the fight there.
Moonblades, that's what
Moonblades. And so, Batarang was fine. It was so I think she was wasted. I think she was underutilized. Part of the problem is it's twofold. Jake does the most brutal problem solving,
and we don't see it.
And we never get to see it. We only get to see the aftermath of it, where you see a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of violence, and neither Stephen nor Mark understand how it happened.
Yeah.
One says, "Is that you?" And the other one says, "No, is that you?" And the arguments ensue. I guess I'm conditioned to the big climactic fight sequence.
Yeah.
And we don't get it. because you don't see the resolution. Now, the beautiful part about that is it sets up the continuation of the story.
Yeah.
Because clearly this third personality is going to be at play, and then the question comes into play: are there more than 3 personalities in there? I mean, is this Sybil?
Probably not.
Right?
I think this 3's a lot.
3 is a lot.
3 is a lot. Not only do I think that because that's what the comics have, is only 3 personalities plus Khonshu.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
But, neither did I until I have a Moon Knight book on my shelf, and right over it's a thin one between the Essential and then the green ones. But I read it like 5 years ago when I first got it, and that was the most exposure I had to Moon Knight in print, aside from videos and things that I had seen about him. And I had completely forgotten that there was supposed to be a third personality. I knew he was bipolar because, like, a lot of the memes and a lot of the comic panels that I've seen online show him switching between personalities. But I was like, I completely forgot that there was supposed to be a third personality in here. So when they did the hint, and he blacked out the first time, I was like, wait, does he have a third personality? Oh, he's got to have a third personality. And then the next episode, they have the red sarcophagus in his mind that
I picked up on the first hint.
I was like, there's a third person. And that's when I finally gave in, went to YouTube, started watching videos, and I was like, yep. They're going to reveal it at the end because that's way too much to do in one season.
Sure.
Because the story's about Stephen and Mark.
Right.
So now it's going to be Stephen. I think moving forward, it's going to have to be Stephen and Mark versus Khonshu and Jake.
Well, there's an interesting concept.
Yeah.
So I asked you a question a week ago after the episode finished, and I said, do you want to see this continued in film, or do you want to see it continued? I asked you, did you want to see a second season?
Yes, absolutely. Because when we did Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you asked me if I wanted to see Falcon and the Winter Soldier continue into a second season or into a movie, or into the thing. And I said I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier's story could have been a movie. I feel like the plot they did could have been a movie. But Moon Knight, I feel like it had to be a TV series. I had friends telling me Moon Knight should be a movie, and I'm like, now I'm looking back, and when you think that each one of these episodes is like 40 minutes long, and the amount of content they put in there was not a lot of filler in this show. There was like it was very well paced. It was from point to point to point to point, and the development over each. This had to be a TV show. I think this is the first one to really nail the 6-episode formula because they wrapped up their plot in 6 episodes. Didn't really feel rushed. So by the time the last episode came around and you're hitting the climax of it, you're like, okay, yeah, we just need to wrap this thing up and set up for season 2 and see how it wraps up and see how they get along afterwards. I think the pacing in this is one of the best out of the entire series, or out of all the series that they've made so far, and I think it fits the 6-episode formula the best.
Okay,
I think this is the best Marvel Disney Plus show we've gotten yet.
You think they finally hit their pace?
I think they finally figured out how to nail the formula, and I would love to see season 2 of Moon Knight. I would love a season 2
on the small screen, not on
the small screen.
Right.
Yeah, I want to see him interact with the rest of the Avengers too. That's going to be hilarious. Like, he's going to be standing there, and then Mark's going to be standing there in full outfit, and he's going to be there. Someone's going to ask him a question. He's going to be like, hold on, I can't answer that, but I know who can. And then all of a sudden it's Mr. Knight and it's Steven, and Steven's going to be like, well, I can help you with that. Let me just explain real quick here. That's going to be so much fun. That's going to be so much fun. That they've got a great potential setup here.
Right.
So, I want to see a season 2.
So I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I enjoyed, I was aware of every Wednesday when the new episode dropped, and I made sure that I watched it, usually in the morning before I went to work. I would sit and I would watch it. I think a couple times I watched it before you did.
Yeah, I think you did.
And it was a tremendous amount of fun. It was different. It was different in its pacing.
Oh, yeah.
It was a very interesting character study. Couple things that bothered me. I knew that the split personality was going to come from some trauma somewhere in his life. That was a given, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes trauma to cause something like that.
Yeah.
Unless something is seriously miswired.
Yeah.
And the trauma was it was significant. It was very real. It was a very real possibility in life, and it was triggered by the relationship with his mother and her reaction to the loss of a child, which was a serious possibility. And I think they handled it very well. But one of the things that they didn't, and this one bothered me just a little bit. We talked about this once before. Mark is Jewish. And he's raised in a Jewish household, practicing Jewish customs, Jewish traditions.
Yeah.
And they abandoned that in his personality. And here we have an American Jew running through Egypt, battling Egyptians. And
working for an Egyptian god.
I'm
seeing a pattern here.
You've got this odd meld, and they totally and completely just gloss over the Judaism, the Jewish aspect of his personality. I mean, as I said to you, they didn't even drop a comical oy vey in a situation right? I mean, they just completely excised his Jewishness out of his character, and there was no need for that. There was no purpose for that. I mean, you didn't want to turn this into a battle of Jewish versus Egyptian.
I can see where you want to avoid that. I can see where that could be an issue. I can see where that could be like...
However, they completely excised that from his character. And what bothers me about this is that in an era of box ticking, of I've got to have this type of character, and I've got to have this type of character, and I have to have these two, and the whole bit. Christine in Doctor Strange marries a black dude. Oh, I don't care. I truly don't care.
Yeah.
But that and a couple other elements just felt like they were box ticking. Okay, we gotta have this, gotta have this, gotta have this. So,
maybe
Jewish. Get the eraser out. We're gonna make that go away. And I'm just like, you're dealing with if we left it at the realm of mythology, why get rid of it?
Yeah.
I just that's an editorial choice. I would love to know why they made that decision, because it's almost like that there are some approved boxes to tick and some unapproved boxes.
There's another element in that the comics do this too. It is very hard, and I mean very hard, to justify. I'm gonna lump them together because they're all monotheistic: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, into a world where you have Egyptian gods, Norse gods, now Greek gods. Thanks, next Thor. Because Zeus is in the trailer. We're finally getting Hercules, I guess. Whatever. I didn't think we needed it. But you've got, at this point, 3 different pantheons. Okay. And it becomes harder for... It becomes really... It's not hard to just... It's awkward. You've got very religious characters like Daredevil and Nightcrawler from the X-Men, the blue dude, who are very staunch Catholics, but it's like you're fighting Hammer Dude from the Viking era. Like, how does this work? How does this work? And it's not impossible because they've been doing it. It's just awkward. It's jarring. It's like, Okay, so I can see where it would be kind of weird to incorporate that. Just a little bit.
I don't think it's weird at all. I'll be totally honest with you. I think it was an editorial choice not to incorporate it at all, with the exception of a couple of very short scenes.
Yeah.
It would be a part of his person and his personality. Watching Matt Murdock deal with his Catholic roots and his Catholic faith, and the conversations he had with his priest were fascinating. They were wonderful. They were well acted, both on the part of the priest and on Murdoch.
Yeah.
The conversation on the rooftop between Murdoch and the Punisher, while it doesn't come right out and say that the Punisher is Catholic, it hints strongly at it.
Yeah.
And you see two men of same or similar faith handling situations completely differently, which is in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
If you look inside the Catholic Church and in the real world, you see that there is a left, a center, and a right. And there's nothing wrong with exploring those things.
Yeah.
So,
maybe they'll do more with it, because I know they also cut a scene where I just read this like today or yesterday. There was a scene, the director of the show, his favorite scene was a scene where in the afterlife that they go to, Steven and Mark confront their mom, and he switches between both personalities as they
Wow.
And apparently it's like some of Oscar's best acting, and they had to cut it, and I'm like, oh, that would be good. Please release this. Please release this. I want to see that.
Well,
so maybe they cut some things out. Maybe
there's
they'll
another
explore.
thing. Why does he go to the Egyptian afterlife? I don't know what the afterlife
Probably
is in Judaism. But
I think it's like heaven. But like he's been, okay, let's say it this way. He's been touched by an Egyptian god. He's aware that the Egyptian gods exist. I think the way that comics and stories that include multiple pantheons handle it is whichever ones you're aware of are your options. Like that you actually, or that you believe in, or is that your option is in. I'll be honest, if you come face to face with an Egyptian god, you're probably going to be like, oh crap, I guess that means the duat's real too. So it would make sense for you to go there if you're aware of it. That's like quick background stuff that people just throw in there to justify it.
Right. So, these are all the different things that have come to mind while I watched the series. Will I watch a season 2? I am looking forward to season 2.
I would love a season 2 of this show.
And, we've talked once about violence and the need for violence in a show. And as I said then, I'm a little more tolerant of the violence. And I think this part of me wants to see what Jake can do.
Yeah.
Not what will do. We know what he will do.
Yeah.
I'd like to see how he does it.
I want to see the difference, because you've got Mark in the full cape and the robes, and it's super cool. And then you've got Mr. Knight, who's just kind of bopping along and dancing and hitting him with sticks. And he's got a couple cool moves here and there, but it's mostly because Steven's like, wait, I could do this. I have a magic suit. Whoop-ah! Does the Daredevil flip and drop kick?
Well, he comes to the realization. He says,
I can.
You've got this, and if you've got this, that means I've got this. And then he realizes self-confidence. He realizes there's things that he can do. Yeah. Of course, he turns to stone 15 seconds later, but he gave it a try.
Well, you had to give Mark a reason to go back and save him and come to terms with him, realizing that he wouldn't be happy.
You should have just left that one for everybody who hasn't seen it. But Moon Knight, definitely a show that if you're enjoying the MCU, and if you're enjoying something that's different from the standard MCU fare that we've been getting, this was a breath of fresh air. In all of its weirdness and any of the criticisms that we have.
They're minor.
This is all minor.
This show is so well written. It's so well acted.
Yeah, the acting
pretty
is
much
every level.
We
haven't talked about Ethan Hawke.
No,
Ethan Hawke is fantastic.
So good. Harrow is so sinister. and subtly sinister. And
yes.
his voice is creepy, and his devotion is fanatical, and it's just a good performance.
I had to watch it a second time to catch the glass breaking in the shoes at the beginning and his comment about I thought doing penance was enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that in there. And then,
what a way to open this series, too.
So,
like, okay.
If we're talking about, those performances, then we absolutely have to mention F. Murray Abraham doing the voice of Khonshu.
Oh,
he was fantastic. I haven't seen his work in years, and he is.
You talk about all-time great in voices. I mean,
that's one of them.
That's one of them now, because everyone talks about James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, which is, let's be honest, iconic.
Episode 2.
But this is an amazing performance, and it adds to the character that Khonshu is going to be so much fun to watch in the future.
I know that one of the things that,
worms.
one of the things that we've strived for is keeping this show family friendly, and not going too far on language and everything. But your description of Khonshu was perfect.
That's why I dropped it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But it was perfect.
It's exactly what he is.
Yes. And you kind of like him for it. He's the bad boy. Yeah. He's the bad boy.
He's the bad boy
that everybody likes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll love him. Oh.
So, Moon Knight, what did you think about it? Leave your comments down below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
It's so good.
And do you agree or disagree with us?
Let us know. Did you have any gripes with it? But what did you love about it? What did you hate?
I would love to know what you think about, penalties coming after the crime or preventive penalties.
Khonshu versus Ammit. Yeah. It's cool. And where do you want Moon Knight to show up next? Who do you want to see Moon Knight interact with?
Well,
because Spider-Man would be hilarious.
The person that I would want to see Moon Knight interact with. Captain America. Not Sam.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers.
Yeah, Steve Rogers.
Now it would be a little. Well, actually, it's not Moon Knight I want to see interact with Steve Rogers. It's Khonshu. Khonshu versus Steve Rogers would be hysterical.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Alas, it will not happen. It cannot happen. Thank you
so much for watching Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. What'd you think? Where do you want to see Moon Knight appear next? Season 2 or a movie? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Come on, Studio Doug. Say goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
It's time for an ear bath.